Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this session at the THE Student Festival, all about studying in the UK. I'm Jamie with THE Student, and I am joined today for a short chat with Devina from MABECS. Devina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Jamie. Thank you so much for having us at the festival. We're really excited to be part of this. So hi, everyone. My name is Devina. I'm the Executive Director of MABECS. MABECS is an education advisory provider based in Malaysia. I've been at MABECS now for, well, in this iteration, we have a joke that no one ever leaves MABECS, really. So I worked at MABECS as a consultant many years ago. And in this role as Executive Director, I've been around since the end of 2017. I have always really worked in higher education, although I have an undergraduate degree in law from the University of Manchester, so I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I've always worked either at MABECS or at different universities. So my first job working in the UK was with the University of Warwick. I've also worked at SOAS in London. And my last job before I moved back to Malaysia was at the University of the Arts in London as the head of international student recruitment. So that's a little bit about me. So yeah, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thanks for the introduction. And I've got a handful of questions for you, but I want to start by talking a little bit about MABECS. Can you tell us what MABECS does, what kinds of services you offer to students and their parents, and how students might find those services useful as they move through the process of selecting and applying to universities?
Sure. So we're actually quite an old education advisory provider by Malaysian standards. We've been around since 1985, and we've placed lots and lots of lovely Malaysian students at UK universities over the years. So what we're able to do is offer students and parents who want to get involved a full service. So from the point of inquiry, what that means is things like, what should I study? How do I apply? To actually helping students through the whole application process. So once you've applied through us, we'll act as a liaison between yourself and the university, making sure all deadlines are met, that any information that universities need, we're able to send them off for you in a timely fashion. We also will assist you with making a final university choice. So most students, if they're applying for undergraduate study, will apply through UCAS, and with that you've got 5 choices. But even if you're applying for a postgraduate course, you tend to apply to a couple of universities to give yourself options. So once you've had all your offers, we'll help you with weighing the pros and cons and helping you decide what's best for you. Once you've decided on which university you want to go to, we'll help you pick the right accommodation. And then finally, when the time comes, we'll help you with your visa application. One of the things that we've recently done is actually created a MABECS alumni network, which we hope students will be part of. What we want to do is try and create a community for students during their time in the UK, but also to help create a community for students who've come back to Malaysia, so that you can be in touch with the people that you went to university with, and sort of network with them through our alumni network. Yeah, so that's what we do.
Wonderful. Lots of great resources and help provided by you and your team. For students who are just kind of beginning the process of thinking about where and what they might want to study, why would you say that the UK is a great destination for Malaysian students? What about it makes it, a really special opportunity for students to pursue?
I think that actually lots and lots and lots of different reasons, because I was trying to think about this as I was preparing for our chat today. So the UK has long been a popular destination for Malaysian students, right? There are many reasons for this, but one of the main reasons, I think, is the fact that our education system matches the UK's education system. So in a sense, the transition from SPM to A-levels is a pretty smooth one, as the style of teaching, learning, and assessments are similar. And so, sort of moving from our education system to the UK one isn't especially difficult. So I think Malaysian students like that. But I think more importantly, the UK is also home to some of the best universities in the world. So if you look at, whichever international league table you look at, UK universities always feature very highly in those league tables and rankings. Another good reason, I think, is that the UK is culturally and ethnically diverse. which makes it really easy for students to feel at home. I mentioned earlier that I went to university in Manchester, and I was just really excited to meet so many people from all over the world when I was studying there. So not just people at my university, but just the general community in the city. There were real opportunities to learn from different cultures and communities. And it was a big part of my university experience, and really enjoyed that. So I always say, like, one of the best things about my UK study experience was that I pretty much have somewhere to crash most places in the world because of all the friends that I made when I was studying. The other thing is that the UK is a great cultural hub. So whether you like music or art or theatre, you can be guaranteed that you'll find it in the UK. I always moan about the fact that big bands never stop in KL. They always go to Singapore, but you'll never have that problem when you're in the UK. So if your favorite band is on a world tour, you can be guaranteed that they'll stop off in the UK city where you're studying. UK also has lots of museums and art galleries, some of the best theatre in the world. So whether it's Shakespeare or more contemporary stuff, you'll definitely be able to find it in the UK. Malaysians love football, so football fans who love watching Premiership games on telly here, it's a great opportunity to go and watch some live football. But recently, I think one of the things that's been attracting lots of Malaysian students is the fact that you now have the opportunity to get work experience in the UK, because the UK has just introduced the post-study work visa, which allows students to live and work in the UK for up to 2 years upon graduation. So I think that's a really positive step for lots of Malaysian students. It's something that will be very attractive, I think. Yeah.
It's wonderful to hear you mention some of those things that pertain to sort of the outside of the classroom experience, because I think we talk to students a lot about choosing the right course and getting the degree and getting the job after they graduate. And we sometimes don't focus on how important that experience is outside of the classroom as well, and sort of that cultural immersion and the ability to connect with students from different backgrounds and different cultures. Mm-hmm. And that is such a critical part of the study abroad experience as well. So I'm happy to hear you mention some of those benefits of studying in the UK, because I think it's just such an important part of that, the experience for students.
Yeah, because I think that most Malaysians who are thinking about studying in the UK will know about the quality of UK universities. It's just, it's always on our minds. Like if I'm going to study abroad, I should definitely consider the UK, because all the big names, right? Like, Oxford, Cambridge, London School of Economics, we all know about them. But I just felt like it was important to talk about the other sort of more holistic experience of living and studying in the UK. It's a great opportunity to try something new, something different, and just be part of, something, I guess in a way, something bigger than you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This brings us sort of nicely to the next question, which is that obviously the process of choosing a university and a course can be very overwhelming. There are lots of great universities in the UK. There are lots of great courses to choose from. And I think sometimes students just sort of pause at the very beginning of the process and think, I'm already feeling overwhelmed by the choices, and how do I even begin? What would be your tips or your recommendations for sort of where and how a student should begin their search for the universities that might be the right fit for them?
Right. So I think that a great starting point is our website. I mean, obviously I would say that, but I do think that our website has tons of great resources that students can use. So I would normally recommend starting with our A to Z guides. So we have these guides for undergraduates and postgraduates. So it sort of helps you think about all the different things that you need to consider as part of your decision-making process, right? So, we have things like information about the different types of universities, about the different assessment methods, trying to make students aware that, just because the degree is called economics, it doesn't mean economics at, Loughborough University is going to be exactly the same as economics at Cardiff University, right? So these are the kinds of things that we cover in our A to Z guides, a sort of holistic picture of all the things you need to think about when you're starting that process. Once you've done that, we also have subject guides on our website, which allow you to look at all the different study options at different UK universities for the subject or subjects that you're considering. So let's say, you're trying to decide between, I don't know, a common decision students have to make is like, do I apply for economics or do I apply for accounting and finance? So we have subject guides for both subjects. So you can sort of have a look at the different universities, the entry requirements, the tuition fees, but also things like what would you study if you were studying economics versus what would you study if you were studying accounting and finance, right? So go and use those resources. They're all free. You can just download them from our website. And I think they will help you with that sort of first initial step. I also think that our MAVECS consultants are a great resource. Someone who can talk you through your options, help you decide on making the best choice for you. At the center of all the work that we do is trying to help students remember that everyone is different. So what's best for your friend is not necessarily what's best for you, right? So it's about getting you to look at all the different factors that you need to think about when making that decision. There are also plenty of other great resources. I mean, to be honest, the UCAS website is brilliant. Like if you use the UCAS website, you'll be able to find the full range of programs across all different UK universities. What we've done though is sort of made it easier and condensed it so that you can look at, say, all the universities in the UK that offer law, for example. And then we've made sure to indicate which law degrees are recognized by the Malaysian Bar Council, right? So because it's overwhelming. If you went to the UCAS website, there are like, I don't know, 80 law degrees. How do I choose? How do I know which ones are recognized by the Malaysian Bar Council? How do I know which ones I have a realistic chance of getting the grades for, right? How do I know whether I can afford this particular university? So we've sort of broken that all down for you, so you can use that resource to help you work through it. And if you still find it overwhelming, like I said, your MABECS consultant can talk you through it, help you sort of think about all the things that matter to you, because at the end of the day, it's, yes, okay, everybody wants to go to top university, I get that, but maybe that's not the best fit for you. So trying to find what's right for you is the key message, I think, at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put the links to some of those resources just on the left of the screen here, so students can directly navigate to find some of those resources that will help them sort of navigate through these early stages and finding the right university. And I think it's also a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about rankings. You've mentioned it a couple of times, and I think we have both mentioned several times over the last few minutes, best fit. How do you find a university that's the best fit? And I think sometimes we have a tendency to put a little bit too much emphasis on the rankings, and we forget that the rankings aren't really going to tell a student if a university is the right fit for them. So I'm really keen to hear from you how rankings such as the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, how they can be used in the search. How important are they really? And how would you recommend that students utilize them sort of among the suite of tools and resources that they have at their disposal?
I think, at the beginning of our conversation, I sort of talked about how UK universities rank very highly in world university rankings. So something like the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, you can sort of have a measure of how UK universities compare to universities in the US, Australia, Canada, all the sort of study destinations that your average Malaysian looking to study abroad will be looking at. So it gives you that bigger picture of where UK universities stand. Okay, so that's a great starting point. But then once you break it down a little bit more, I think the value in the rankings is it helps students have a sense of the type of universities that they are applying to. Okay, why do I say this? I think rankings help you to get that sense because they tend to look at a range of different metrics. So it helps you get that broader picture. So it's important for students to look at which metrics matter to them. So each ranking table, so whether it's the Times Higher ranking or any of the other rankings available out there, each of them uses different metrics, right? So it's not all the same. So when you're looking at a league table or ranking table, I always say, think about which metrics matter to you. Are you concerned about the research ratings of the university? So try and understand whether the rankings you're looking at puts greater weight on research ratings. Is it the quality of the teaching that matters? Look at how much emphasis they place on the quality of teaching. I mean, does student satisfaction matter to you, right? So sometimes, I mean, I worked at 2 different London universities, and one of our big things was like, you know, students always complain about London, because I think part of that is not really having that community feel that you might get if you were studying in a university that's a campus, right? So like, it was really interesting for me, having worked at Warwick, to see the kinds of students that love that campus experience, and then going and working at London universities and trying to think about student satisfaction and how to make sure that students had a positive, healthy, community-driven experience, even though they were in London. And that's actually very difficult to achieve in a big city like London, right? So these things matter. Once you know what matters to you, right? Like, so am I interested in the research? Am I interested in the teaching? Am I just looking for a place where I can have lots of fun, right? Because that's fair too, if that's what you're looking for. I think once you understand that, you'll be able to look at the rankings more holistically. And by doing that, you're not just going to like go, okay, what's the #1 university for graphic design? I'm going to go there. Because the #1 university for graphic design may not be the right institution for you, right? So if you're a city person and the #1 graphic design university is in, I don't know, a small town in Wales, which is fine. It's just that that may not be the right place for you. You're not going to enjoy your university experience. So it's about balancing it out. But I think the value in the rankings is giving you that bigger picture, trying to understand where the university you're thinking of applying to sort of fits with all the other universities that you're considering as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for example, the World University Rankings through Times Higher Education gives students an opportunity to sort of dig into that data a little bit. So if there's a particular performance metric that is most important to them, students are able to really kind of hone in on that particular metric and find the universities that are performing particularly well in that area. There's also opportunities to look at, as you mentioned, subject rankings or best universities in a particular area, particular destination. So I encourage students to not look at them as just sort of a list of universities, but to actually understand that there's a lot of really useful data and information behind the rankings that can then help students figure out which universities might be the right fit for them.
Yes, absolutely, because I think that's really the way to do it. You know, we keep saying this, like finding the right fit for you, because what works for Devina doesn't work for Jamie, and what works for Jamie doesn't work for Devina. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's about trying to make sure it's the right place for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Devina, in our last couple of minutes here, I wonder if you could just share some advice for students for sort of staying organized and sane during the application process. I think, you know, we often overlook the fact that it's typically a really, really stressful time for students at the end of their secondary school career, you know, exams, lots of pressure at school. And on top of that, having to navigate this process and make some very big decisions and write those personal statements. And it's a lot to take on for students. So what would be your sort of words of advice or wisdom to help students kind of stay calm and stay organized throughout this time?
It's really interesting because I was actually talking to my colleague about this today. I was like, do you know, sometimes I think we will never go out of business because the information that students get sent, you need to have a law degree to understand it sometimes, right? It's just like the language used, and you know, it's quite complicated. So I completely understand where students are coming from, and it's also like the first time for many students where they're having to make a really big decision about their lives, right? Because I think in school, all decisions get made for you, pretty much. I mean, yes, okay, you need to decide what SPM subjects to do or what A-level subjects to do. But like after that, that's when the big, you know, the big issue is, right? So I would say the first thing is to make sure you read everything that you get sent, right? So don't ignore any information. I know I'm going to sound like an auntie here. I know that like students don't really read emails. Read your emails. It's really important. Read your emails. Because what I find often is like students tend to freak out and panic because they don't read their emails, or they'll read their emails when like someone prompts them, and then by then they've missed a deadline, right? So read your emails. check your spam box. That's actually quite important. A lot of emails annoyingly end up in spam, and students miss them for that reason. So do that. Once you've read your emails, make sure you mark all your deadlines clearly in your calendar so that you have time to prepare to meet them, right? Jamie and I can attest to the fact that this helps when you start working as well, right? Your deadline in your calendar so that you don't miss it, right? Make sure you look at your deadline. Talk to your MAVECS consultant and ask them to help you make sense of things if you don't always understand an email that you receive from the university or UCAS, right? Because as I said at the start, sometimes the language used is so formal and quite confusing, and we get that, but that's why we're here to help you. We'll help you decipher university speak, right? So get in touch. Don't wait till the last minute to get in touch, obviously. Like, do get in touch, speak to us. We'll help you through that whole process. Like, remember that there's someone to hold your hand through this. You don't have to do it on your own. And definitely, once you're aware of your deadline, don't wait till the last minute to meet it. I find it helps to keep your sanity if you prepare in advance. Wise lessons from an old auntie. But yeah, I think really the email thing, I can't like emphasize it enough. It's such a big problem for us, like students not reading emails.
Absolutely. I think students have a tendency to like read the subject line or sort of read the headline and then move on, and they miss important details or information that may help them actually reduce their stress levels if they were to read it through completely. So I think that's great advice. Devina, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining me today. I think this has been incredibly useful for students. And I want to mention that there are a few other subsequent sessions in our agenda. Students will see them linked here as well, from MABECS alums and current students talking about their experiences studying in the UK. So be sure to tune in for those for some additional information. Devina, it's been great to chat with you. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Jamie. Bye, everyone.